Hello guys, welcome back to Simply Blissful Living. This is Romy, and in today's video, I will be sharing my kitchen with you guys and showing you how I organize and keep things in my kitchen. I have a fairly small kitchen and I try my best to keep it organized and clean. So in this video, I'll be sharing how I use this space. If you would like to see what my kitchen looks like and if you'd like to learn a few tips and tricks, please keep watching. So we'll start off with the sink, which is pretty much the center of all kitchen aside from the stove. So I spend a lot of time washing and cleaning at this sink. This is a porcelain sink and it came with the house. It is not my favorite because it gets stained very easily. However, I make use of what I have. When we do remodel, I will be getting a stainless steel. And on top of the sink, we have that little bar space or like a mantle, and I use that for fruits. And then you'll see that I have a pretty small counter space. It's not a large kitchen, so we don't have a lot of counter space. And then of course the refrigerator, which is kind of like our command center in our house. And then we have this small pantry. So I do have another pantry that I I converted a closet into a bigger pantry for my bulk items. But in this particular pantry, I keep things that I use on at least a weekly basis. So most of the stuff here, I will use at least once a week. And I store all my dry goods in clear, mostly glass jars, and I use the chalk labels on them, and it is very pleasant to the eye. It looks really nice, and you can easily see what's in the jar and how much you have. So this is number one tip that I would like to give you, is if you, in organizing your kitchen, regardless of where you put your dry goods and your ingredients that you use, keeping them in a clear jar like this helps you see how much you have, and it becomes decorative in a way. I also keep, my peanut butter, Nutella, and all those things. We go through a lot of honey. And then I also keep some pots and pans in here. And this is just my frying pans. I keep them in a vertical pan organizer, and that becomes really helpful. I can just reach for it. I keep my onions and potatoes in here, and I use different types of baskets. And then these two big jars I got from the Goodwill, and I use it for rice and flour, which is something we pretty much have daily. And then on the top portion, I keep appliances, and then some of the supplements that we use. So taking you back to the sink area, I wanted to show you how I keep my cleaning supplies on here, like the scrubbing brush and the sponge. And I try to keep these in things that will drain easily. So the brush has a little dish that drains, and I clean that out every day. And then the sponge holder at the bottom, there's holes so the water drains easily and it keeps the sponge dry. I also keep my Mrs. Meyer's cleaning supplies, and that's the dish detergent and hand cleaner, and they're both natural items. And on top of the sink area, we have this little bar or mantle area that's raised, and you can see this area from both the dining room and the kitchen. So on this area, I try to keep it clean and decorated so it's appealing to the eye. So during the holidays, I had laid out a garland, and then I keep candles on here and different decorative pieces, but I also utilize this space for storing my fruits. So I use nice jars or nice bowls, and I keep my fruits and vegetables on there. Underneath the sink, we have cabinet space, and I keep all my cleaning supplies on here. I'd be happy to do a separate video on this. We also keep a small trash can down there, so we can empty it out daily. And then next to the sink, I have this flat rack. I don't like those dish racks because we wash most of our dishes in the dishwasher, but for items that have to be hand washed, I keep this on the side, and I keep this nice thick towel. It's a very absorbent towel underneath, and I keep an extra one on the side there, so it collects water, and this doesn't need to be ringed or anything. It just absorbs it and dries it out, and I change that out every few days. I also have my KitchenAid and my toaster oven on the counter space. We use these items a lot in our house, And my KitchenAid is just, again, a decorative piece for me as well. I mean, everybody that owns a KitchenAid knows that it just looks nice in your kitchen. We also percolate coffee every single day, so I keep that out as well. Not only because I use it, multiple times in the day, but it's something that it's just tedious to take in and out because we use it every day. On top of the counter, we also have a Keurig, and when we don't percolate coffee, or when we just want a single cup of coffee, then we use our Keurig for it. But we keep it to the side, and then I have my coffee pods and sugar, a sugar bowl right next to that. We use the sugar every day. And then I have a cookbook. I usually change these out depending on the diet that I'm following or what I'm be cooking. I keep that on display. Again, it looks nice and it serves a dual purpose. I have my spice rack here. Again, it serves a dual purpose. It's a decorative piece, but it also stores my spices. And you probably saw this in some of my videos, but this isn't actually a wooden piece that I got from the antique store. And I wanted to bring that out, is to have pieces that you can use both for decoration and make it functional. So the mantra of my kitchen is make sure it's functional and yet it's pleasing to the eye. So I use bowls and things that are nice and look decorative, yet their functionality is also there. And then of course I have my mortar and pestle here. This is something that I bought when we first bought this house, because I like to grind all of my spices, and it just reminds me of like the olden days when you would grind things from scratch. So I keep that, and it serves as a decoration in my kitchen. On top of the counters, you'll see that there's some empty space. I plan to decorate that in the near future. I'm just looking for pieces at a good price. And then, of course, I keep my towels hung by my stove. And on this corner, I keep a utensil jar that I got on sale, and I keep my oil and then my salt in here. I like the way it looks. I think it is pleasing to the eye again, but it's also functional. And then I keep all my wooden spoons and spatulas and my belen and all those things that I use on a regular basis here for easy access. And for this provides some free space in the drawers that I have, because I don't have many, but it also provides a good space, something that's appealing to the eye. It decorates the kitchen. So next I will take you and show you what I have in each drawer. So because I don't have a lot of drawer space, I try to utilize these spaces very sufficiently and make sure that I use it to its full potential. And on the top drawer, which is very skinny, I keep all my knives. I don't have many knives, but the knives that I do have, I love. So all my sharp objects that I would call as my knives and scissors and stuff, I keep here. And then I also keep this chalk marker for my menu board on my refrigerator. And I use this drawer every single day, and it serves its purpose well. The next drawer right underneath that I use for all my other kitchen utensils that I don't have out on my utensil jar. So these are like spoons and my strainer and my grater, anything that I don't keep up there. And these are items that I don't use on a daily basis. I might use them at least once or twice a week, but I don't use them on a daily basis. And so I leave them in this drawer, and again, it's easy access because it's right next to my stove, but it's out of the way, and I just keep it all in this drawer. And the next drawer in the line of drawers I use for my kitchen towels. I don't have a lot of space in these drawers, so I only bring out some of my kitchen towels that I plan to use that week and keep in this drawer, and the others are kept in my linen closet. This way I can utilize the space for things that I need immediately, but the others are kept out of the way and things don't get cluttered. The next drawer, or the very last drawer in the line of drawers, is my catch-all for all my utensils that I rarely use or use like once a month or when I have company. I keep it down here. I have my thermometer, some candle lighters and things like that, and it just stays out of the way and it stays clean. So on the other side of my stove, I have this small cabinet space that has 2 drawers on top of each cabinet, and I also use these drawers to maximize my space and keep things close to me that I use for cooking. And on this first drawer, I keep my measuring cups and my measuring spoons and little rubber bands. And I use measuring cups a lot in the kitchen, and so this is a very accessible spot for them. We use these measuring spoons for, daily coffee, and when I'm cooking and I'm making a new recipe. I also keep my Keurig pots in here that you can fill with your own coffee. So this is a drawer that gets utilized a lot in our house. We open it multiple times in a day, and having it right next to our coffee and the stove and the area that I use for meal preparation is very handy. The next drawer that I will show is the drawer that's right adjacent to that one that I just showed you, and in this drawer I keep my spices. So one of the first things that I did when we bought this house is decide on how I wanted to organize my spices. And although I have cabinet space, I wanted to make sure I could see the spices. So I bought these jars from Amazon, and I use them to keep spices that I use most often. I do have some spices that I store in my pantry, but this spice drawer is very important to me, and I love the way it works. I love the way that it turned out, and I can see what spices are in there, and I know which spices they are. The final drawer in my kitchen is one where I keep all my forks and knives and daily utensils. I keep this little organizer in here to keep the knives and forks nicely organized. This is pretty much the widest drawer that we have, and it was the one drawer that I can use for these utensils. But because I have extra space, what I did is I lined the drawer with non-slip matting, and then I keep little things that I use on a daily basis, like my KitchenAid attachments and extra knives and forks, steak knives or meat knives, our chopsticks, things like that, things that I need to have access to, and I can store here. And I use these clear bins to organize it. I use these around the kitchen a lot, and I got them at the Dollar Tree, so they were $1, and it keeps things really organized and separated, and I love using them in the kitchen. Now moving on to the cabinet spaces. This cabinet is very small and thin, it's very narrow, so you can't put a lot of things, so I try to use bins to utilize this space wisely. I use this bin pretty much daily, and in this bin I have my immersion blender, and I use this to make my coffee every day. I drink bulletproof coffee, so I keep it handy, and it's easy. I can pull the bin out, keep it on the counter, use it, and when I'm done with it I just stick it back in there. I also keep my oil and just a little grater there. Again, the space is narrow, so whatever I could fit in there I put in there, and I use that space that way. The cabinet underneath my spice jar drawer or spice drawer is again not properly designed in my opinion, so I only keep things that I have access to. This cabinet space is quite deep to the right side if you're sitting in front of it, but again, I can't access that area without having to dig out the stuff that's in front of it, so I don't put anything there. So I keep my steel pot in there. This is something that I use for my Instant Pot, and underneath I have this vertical rack that's used for baking racks or baking trays or lids. I use that for my cutting boards. So the next cabinet space that I have is below my drawer that I use for my cutlery. So here again, a lot of wasted space because of the way the cabinets are designed. However, I do use this space to keep my bigger pots and pans. So the inside to the left of this cabinet, I keep the bigger pots and pans that came with my set. It's kind of out of the way. But the things that I have direct access to, which is in, directly in front of me, I keep my pots, my pans, a colander, and stainless steel bowls, and different types of bowls and stuff in here. And these are things that I have access to right away and I use on a daily basis. So moving on to the top cabinets, I will go from this area and moving forward. This is where I keep all my storage containers. We use a lot of storage containers, obviously, for storing our leftover foods and for taking lunches to work. So I use Pyrex dishes a lot because I like, being able to use it in the oven and then in the microwave. And we use glass storage containers for the most part. We do have a couple of plastic ones, but these glass ones are my favorite. Now, the very top of the cabinet, the very top shelf, I cannot reach because of my height, and I think you would have to be pretty tall, like my husband, to be able to reach them. And he can reach those easily. So on the very top, I keep seasonal items and things that I rarely have to reach for. I keep things that I would not need on a daily basis up there. But when I do need them, I can get a step stool and get them. But for access, it's not very easy. The next cabinet I use for our daily dishes. So I keep my dishes basic white whenever possible, and this way I can mix and match different dishes, but they're all the same color, and I can throw in some colorful dishes. As you can see, I have a few blue and a few red bowls and things like that. But keeping my daily use or majority of my dishes white helps to incorporate into, and when you have guests and things like that, you can use those. Again, on the very top, I keep things that I don't need to access all the time. On the side, I keep these cooking ramekins, like they're clay pots. I use those for baking, but I use them maybe once every 3 or 4 months. And then we keep all of our water bottles, which you can see we have quite a few of. We have quite a few of Hydro Flasks up there. And I use this bin to store lids in and things, again, that I will not need to access on a daily basis. The next area is used for, again, daily dishes. I keep the first 2 tiers, first 2 shelves with things that we use on a daily basis. I have my glasses here. I got these, I believe I got them from Ross. So I had 4 of them were like $2, so I got a really good deal on them. I like tall glasses, and then I have a couple of different kinds of glasses here too. These tall glasses are my favorite. And then again, I have the mugs, these coffee mugs. They're white. They came with the dinner set that I purchased off of Amazon. And then we keep, some mugs that were gifted to us on the side. And on the inside, because that is space that's not easily accessible, I keep some ramekins and things like that I do use, but not often. On the very top, I keep my teacups. I use this shelf on here. It's an extender shelf, and it really helps you use this space, utilize that space wisely, because I can keep 2 different tiers of my teacups on there. And these particular teacups that I'm showing you, I got a secondhand, and I absolutely love them. And then right next to them, I have some mason jars that I use, my stainless steel stuff that I use for my girls when they come over, my nieces when they come over. I have, plates that they use, and then when my nephew comes over, he has little plates that he uses. And again, on the very top, I keep my wine glasses, my salad bowls that I don't use often. We have salad bowls that we use, or we'll just use the regular bowls for salads, but I pull these things out when I have guests. And then I have my container for roti when I make roti. I don't make roti often, but when I do, I use that. This cabinet space is right next to my stove, so it's things that I reach for when I'm cooking. So here we keep extra sugar. that I use when I'm making tea, and then right next to that I use the other jar for tea leaves. And then I have some spoon holders that I use again on a daily basis. We keep our coffee up here, the different salts that we use. I use either Himalayan salt or Celtic salt, and I keep that here because I reach for it often. I also have my MCT oil, which I use daily for my coffee, and then we have Milo because, I mean, when my girls come over they have Milo. And on the very top I keep actually on the second shelf I keep some other items that I use, not on a daily basis, but I do reach for these at least weekly. And I have cornstarch, some chia seeds, Eno for when I make dhokla or idli, and then I have cardamoms, the skin of the cardamoms, and some crackers, and then I keep this Tupperware with some flour in it from when I make roti. And again, on the very top, because I can't reach it, I keep things that I would not need on a daily basis. And again, I'm utilizing these baskets. Having these baskets, the space looks organized and looks clean, doesn't look cluttered, and it gives you access to your stuff as well. Now going to the next cabinet, which is on the other side of the stove. This is a narrow cabinet, but I utilize the space wisely. I have some spices that I do not keep in my spice drawer, but like my black pepper grinder, and I have extra cardamom and almond slivers and paprika and stuff like that, and I keep my coconut oil and all those things in here too. And again, I try to use glass jars when possible. Some of these items are in the original containers, and these are items that I use for cooking, but they're not things that I keep stocked in my kitchen, every single time. And on the top shelf, the second one, I keep my bigger jars of spices. Now I use granulated garlic, seasoned salt, and granulated onion a lot, but they're in some big containers, so I keep them there. And again, on the very top, things that I don't use a lot, I keep cutting board oil and some different things up there, and I keep them in the basket so I can pull them down when I need them. I also use my cabinet door as a storage space, so I have these stick-on hooks that I got from Amazon, and I keep my pot holders on there, and it's easy access, it's there when I need it, and it is a good use of the space. So that was it, guys. That was a tour of my kitchen. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you could comment down below and let me know some of the tips and tricks you use in kitchen organization, I would highly appreciate it. If you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to see future videos, and I will see you in my next one. Thank you so much for stopping by, and until next time, please take care.